Hey, Eric.
How's it going, John?
Oh, it's going pretty well. It is, you're catching me at the very end of a very long day at a relatively long week. So, I apologize.
It's all good. I still have to pack.
Heading home.
Yes,
Yeah.
last day in paradise.
Well, I hope that you have had a great time.
It's been very nice. I have not thought about work as much as I thought I would, so that was a bonus.
Awesome.
I actually ignored a lot of work.
Good.
Not entirely, but for the most part,
Yeah.
So,
Good.
You know,
that's sort of what you
patting
need to
myself
do on a
the back.
vacation.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
that's good. Got to hang out with family, got to go see some cool things. There's a lot of things that are, we discovered later that are reservation only.
Like you have to have
And-
reservations way in advance.
Yeah. Things like state parks. We thought we would just go
Oh.
to state parks or other places, and they were closed, or they were closed and had certain specific hours, or they would only let so many people in, or you had to get an actual reservation. And so it wasn't things just like restaurants or, activities. It was even state parks. So we missed out on doing a couple things we had planned because we missed the note that said this also requires a reservation
Right.
3 weeks in advance.
Well, that's a bummer.
Yeah, it's all good.
That's a bummer.
We got to the periphery.
Did
We
you
saw some cool waterfalls.
go out on any boats?
No, that was one of the things that we should have planned 3 weeks in advance. We did do, well, I didn't, but a part of my family went on a helicopter tour
Ooh.
and got to see all the Jurassic Park waterfalls.
Uh-huh.
So, the intro scene from Jurassic Park on a helicopter, they did that. That was pretty cool. A couple others did surfing lessons.
Sweet.
And were very sore afterwards. But hey,
Uh-huh.
they learned how to surf.
That's cool.
So
That's cool.
yeah, it was a nice break. I read a lot of books. I read multiple books. I caught up on a couple shows that I kind of sort of wanted to watch. My oldest and I started watching. She had never seen The Expanse, but was told she needed to see it. So we started watching that from scratch,
Okay.
from season 1, which is great for me because it's been a year since I watched it. So it's kind of fun to go back and
Yeah.
remember the stuff. So it has been a pleasant vacation.
Cool. Did you watch Loki?
We did, well, yes, I did. We watched, we did the Disney Plus access for Black Widow as well. So we got the whole family and watched Black Widow. Another family member got the Cruella, and we fixed the TV to run off. I brought my adapters for my phone.
Uh-huh.
And so we ran it off the phone through the adapter to the big TV so we could
That's
watch
pretty
it
funny.
in the condo. So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
it was fun. So I did see the end of Loki, but my wife was actually just getting herself some food, and she hasn't watched it yet. So I didn't want to.
Well, no spoilers.
Give any
No
spoilers.
spoilers. It only came out yesterday, so no spoilers. But you should go watch Loki for sure. So it's cool that you mentioned Black Widow, because Saturday I had intended on going and doing a kind of a big project Saturday morning, but the guy that I was going to be helping called or texted me Friday and said, "Hey, I can't do it. Can we push off another week?" So that'll be my this coming Saturday now. But that meant I wound up kind of last minute with a Saturday free, which meant that I spent 3.5 hours Saturday morning with a weed eater on, and like my shoulders were so sore all week, and it was really hot, especially towards the end.
Right.
It was one of those days where, in fact, my wife said that as we were out there, she's like, I think this is the worst day of the year, but anybody who thinks they want property should come and do this with us and do this for a couple of days and then see what you think.
Yeah.
But anyway, but the cool thing there was, you know, I came in at lunchtime and, you know, made lunch and then just kind of had to cool down for a little while, which was fun. We played a game, but then we went and saw Black Widow in the theaters, you know, Saturday night. So that was our second movie trip, and it was great. I enjoyed it. It was awesome. And then, so my Sunday though, so there's a bit of a funny / bad dad thing here, but I took my kids fishing on Sunday with a friend of ours, and who has a boat, and so it was a couple hour drive to the reservoir, and
4 a.m.
Well, yeah. So he showed up here at 6:10 to pick us up, and I didn't tell my kids that it would be a quite that early morning thing until like the night before, because they don't get up that early. And so, but anyway, so we're there. It was a lovely day. We probably should have come home a couple hours earlier than we did, because we stayed out like on the water till 5:30. I mean, wow. It was a long day, and it was really sunny. It was lovely. Yeah. It was just beautiful. But both my boys got a little sunburned, because you know, I think if my wife had been around, she would have just not given them an option and said, here's the sunscreen, put it on. Whereas I was like, hey, you should put on some sunscreen. And so my younger boy was laying up on the front of the bow, like with his head on the window, just kind of like chilling. And it was really bright. So he put his mask across his face. He has a complete sunburn across his face.
The reverse raccoon.
It was pretty epic. like I'm like, you gotta get a good picture of this one, because this was not this is going to be something that will probably be in future photo albums, I'm afraid, as a lesson learned, hopefully. But so anyway, that was Sunday. It was quite fun. We caught. Yeah. So we were fishing for kokanee, which are like tiny. Well, they're relatively small trout. Well, they're actually a landlocked coho salmon. So supposedly they taste like salmon, but I haven't cooked them yet. I'm going to smoke them this weekend. Is my intent. So anyway, so we'll see. I got a recipe off of, you know, for the smoker, and so we'll see. We caught a bunch. Anyway, so that was fun. That was fun. So
nice.
Anyway, I just can't even believe I let my son do that without like actually parenting him. Bad dad. Bad dad.
There's different ways to learn life lessons.
I totally knew better, and I even said something. I think I even said you're gonna sunburn your face with them. You're gonna have a mask imprint on your face if you lay like that. So, I think he actually fell asleep for a bit.
There is no better teacher than experience.
Well, yeah, experience is definitely a teacher, ain't it? So anyway, that was my weekend. It was fun, but not Hawaiian, out on a ship or on a boat or something like that.
No. That's all good.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So hey, before we enter follow-up territory, I put a personal link in follow-up.
Yes.
You saw this?
I did.
So this is evidently Coca-Cola is going to make a flavor change to the Coke Zero.
Uh-huh.
It's going to be now even more delicious.
Just like in 1985.
So I saw this, thought of you, obviously.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Did you already know this, or? I
had seen this earlier because I have family members who are well aware of my
predilection.
Predilection?
Mm-hmm.
And they said, "Hey, can you taste the difference?" I don't think it's here yet in the U.S.
Yeah, so I think in the article they said it was in Europe,
right? But hasn't made it to the U.S. yet. So I'm really in it for the bubbles as much as anything. So
in it for the bubbles.
I'm fine. I'm sure I will be fine.
That's going to be the title of the article of the episode, man.
I'm in it for the bubbles.
In it for the bubbles. Sorry, dude. That's hilarious.
Yeah, no, I did see that. That would be cool. I'm looking forward to tasting it and then having an opinion, and then not caring and just continuing to drink it.
All right. Well played on going in with an open mind. Okay. All right. All right.
So you got some actual follow-up.
I did. I put a article I saw about what was the actual flaw behind the Kaseya 0-day exploit from last week. So, I saw this, and it's as, I don't know if you read this, but it's as bad as you might think that it is, meaning that the actual bypass was as frustratingly dumb as you might wish that it was not.
Right.
But so anyway, so this is a blog on truesec.com, and they walk through the details on how the how the exploit was crafted and what the attacker did to actually upload the ransomware and get it to execute. So the reason I say it's as frustrating as possible is that, basically, if you look at, they have a screenshot of pseudocode, at least. I'm not sure if it's pseudocode or real code. Hold on one second. In the, it's pseudocode because it's basically what would have been executed on the server side. But so when checking the password set in the first web request or the authentication request, there's basically a what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5 tests to see if the password that's being hashed is the correct password. And, so it's a little weird to me, some of these. I didn't really look at them in close, but why are they checking if the password... they must have had different, let's say, salting, historical salting things, because they're testing the password with the hash of the password as well as the display name or the agent GUID string or what is that? If it was basically the last password. Because it's testing for the current password or the next password to see if they're the same. And then they also test to say, well, is it just the same as the password? And then there's a else condition that basically says, if no password, log in okay. So, if somebody crafted a request where the password variable is null, then login OK ends up being true. And
that's a bummer.
Right. Totally. The one thing that they said was that they didn't understand how the attackers got it is that you need to, in the request, have the GUID of the agent. And they were trying to do the GUID of the server. So that was something that they couldn't explain. So the quote was, the outstanding question is how the threat actor obtained around 60, estimated from the number of VSA victims, unique valid agent GUIDs. It appears they simply knew the agent GUIDs before launching the attack. So that's interesting. But the other kind of really interesting thing here is the file that they uploaded had a .jpeg or JPG extension, but it wasn't an actual JPEG file, but a text file containing ASP code. So,
oops.
I don't. It probably not an actual polyglot. Probably just if it was just a text file. The first time I read through it, I was like, "Ooh, they had to use a polyglot to do this." But no, I don't think it's that smart. I think it was just that maybe there was a test on upload that you could only upload, JPEG files or something like that. But then, or image files. But then there was the final flaw in it was that they were able to trigger a load key and point at the JPEG file, and basically it evaled it as ASP and executed it. So, at the end of the day, it wasn't a terribly complicated or complex intrusion. Just
right.
Some couple of piled on defects.
Oops.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's the follow up from last week. This article's right. There's a bit more details in here, but they have lots of images for demonstrating all of the requests through a actual exploit. And no, I don't know who found this out in the first place, but it from their timeline that they put at the end of this, this sounded like this was entirely post exploitation, analysis. So,
got it.
Anyway, there you go. That was my actual follow up from last week. Since there's quite a bit more info out there now. All right. How about you?
Well, for topics, I had two that I stumbled across, I'll say, because I really wasn't paying a whole lot of attention to.
That's good. You're on vacation. It's nice of you to even do this.
No, but the first one was a new support. Google now rolled out new support for Gmail, a standard called BIMI, Brand Indicators for Message Identification. And it's not just Google that's done this. It's been around for a while. And what it allows you to do in Gmail is it's a security feature that allows you to show the logo of the company as next, you can put your picture next to your email, and if you have it in your contact list, it kind of does that. Well, this is a way for things like banks or Google or whomever who implements the standard and has already implemented some of the other email security standards like DMARC and DKIM and SPF, that they can show, air quoting here, authenticated logos inside those email clients. So it's a way for the email client, Gmail, Google rolled this out specific for Gmail lately, to show a logo next to the email to help give you the visual clue that, yes, this is exactly, this actually comes from your bank or from Google or from whomever, as opposed to something else. So it kind of depends on digital certificates, et cetera, for, making sure that it's not a spoofed email or, sent from scammers. So you get used to that. But the next question is, how long before scammers just implement this standard as well? So it's interesting in that it's yet another tool in the quiver, I suppose, tool in the toolbox for helping you sniff out bad emails versus good emails, spoofed emails versus legitimate ones. But that is now rolling out to Gmail. So soon, if not already, in your Gmail when you're looking at Gmail online, the logo next to the emails from authenticated logos will start appearing next to them, as opposed to whatever you might have stored in the address book. Like, I have all my family's emails and their pictures, but I control those. This is just an additional feature. So I thought that was kind of cool.
I'm looking at my Gmail, but I don't see any images. But maybe you
probably have like a compact, or you probably have to.
I totally have a compact view.
Yeah, you probably have to set your view to show the logos, the icons. So, anyways, that was the first one. Well, we'll see how useful that is.
Hold on, one second.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's not visible on the comfortable view. How about on the default view? At least density, default, comfortable, and compact. I don't see it, but maybe it's just rolling out and it hasn't hit me yet.
Possible.
Oftentimes they slow roll their features. So who knows? All right. Well, I'll keep an eye out for it.
There you go. So Google supports that now.
Cool.
All right. And then the other one is not so much a security topic, but it's definitely a tech topic. I saw this on a presidential Biden antitrust executive order, and it was a list of various things that he's issued an executive order on. But one of them was around internet bills. And it's about how Americans forever have been forced to pay the one company that happens to be in town that connects to your house, and you really don't have much choice on high-speed internet. So there's very little free market competition to convince companies to lower their fees. So he's asked the FCC to do a number of things, which is one of them was to revive their broadband nutrition label plan, to get providers to explain what all the fees are, what the services they're getting, what the services they're not getting. This was started back in 2016, dropped by the last administration's FCC. And the other thing that Biden is asking the FCC to do is to restore net neutrality. So as much as I'm, what it does is it goes into classifying internet service as a Title II common carrier, which means it's more subject to regulation along the lines of a public utility. And I can't, the internet and access to the information available on the internet, for good and for bad, has become so important just to general how to exist in society these days that, to function, it needs to be made as available as possible to as many people as possible with all the support as possible, just like electricity or water or gas, heat, whatever else it is. It's not quite as important as water or electricity, but it's getting really close. So I thought that was that was something else that I saw. So those are my two topics for this week.
That's really cool. I know. I as somebody who has no choice, I want these things, but I also really want more, let's say, rural broadband. There's
right.
I don't know what the stats are, but I remember reading them not too many months ago, because I think there's some rural infrastructure in the potential infrastructure bill that's in Congress at the moment that would be really nice, because I think there's one of the things about power and water is they were essentially required to go to every, or be available to every resident, or there were incentives to basically take power lines everywhere. I would very much like to have an option That would be lovely. All right. Well, I'm not going to hold my breath though, because, well, I would turn blue. So my the article that I most appreciated this week is kind of a long and security and privacy related for sure, but more in the process of how do these standards come to be and what's kind of going on at the moment kind of in these worldwide web consortium forums and interest groups where, you know, they're sort of being invaded by non-technical people that have, let's say, a vested interest and who are not, you know, they're playing a different game than the traditional security or developer people have been, committee members have been. So this is an article on protocol.com. And it's the headline is Concern Trolls and Power Grabs Inside Big Tech's Angry, Geeky, Often Petty War for Your Privacy. And then subtitle, Inside the World Wide Web Consortium, where the world's top engineers battle over the future of your data. So it's actually quite a long article. It's kind of like a human interest piece for humans that most people are not interested in. I think, which is kind of funny, but you know, they're, you know, a lot of these people are like our types of people. So, because you know the W3C. I love the sort of the description of this is that it's where top developers from companies like Google pitch proposals for new technical standards. The rest of the community fine-tunes them, and if all goes well, the consortium ends up writing the rules that ensure websites are secure and they work no matter which browser you're using or where you're using it. So, you know, it's a standards body.
Yeah. So,
I mean, one of the things they mention in here is that it is definitely asymmetrical in the sense that, you know, large companies, all of, you know, that generally it's the large companies that own the browsers, can afford to have multiple people on the different standards committees. Whereas, you know, a small company trying to participate, you know, can't afford to have 30 people on different committees and things like that. You know, they might have one person devote a third of their time, something along those lines. But the cool thing about these standards bodies is they generally are doing their work in the open. So, yeah, you can come and be as provocative and argumentative as you like, but you don't get to do that behind closed doors. You're doing that in the full view with, you know, pull requests in a GitHub repo or something along those lines, or, you know, a comment thread or something along those, you know, something like that. This sort of a story, if there's a thread that walks through this, it's a thread of a data broker who saw a privacy, looming privacy feature in Chrome and realized that if that came to fruition, his whole company would be toast because they would not be able to collect the data that they need to be able to collect from consumers unwittingly to sell to people for whom they don't, you know, the consumers don't want their data to be sold. I'm sure you can detect the complete impartiality in my voice and words. But yeah. So it says on the one side are engineers who build browsers at Apple, Google, Mozilla, Brave, and Microsoft. On the other side are companies that use cross-site tracking for things like website optimization and advertising and are fighting for their industry's survival. So, you know, that's sort of the you know, the setup and lead in. But essentially, you know, these people, I guess I would say, are coming in, and it says in some cases providing dozens of suggestions and bringing the conversation to, not at the sort of technical level, but at the philosophical level. And I think, I think I walked away from this article not really confident that sanity will prevail, because there's examples in history where, standards basically have died because there's too much infighting, and the view is that these call them privacy trolls maybe are just trying to make it so that the community appears like it's in turmoil, or there's enough confusion that regulators should step in and either force some sort of standard in which the privacy is or invasion of privacy is explicitly allowed, or the ability of the browser vendors to implement stronger privacy is disallowed. And the the article talks about some legitimate proposals that the let's say, I forgot what they call them, from the ad tech industry advocates have actually proposed that are at least acknowledge some of the problems and attempt to address them. But I guess I'm totally on the old man yells at cloud side of this thing. The last quote that I actually pulled out of here, it was so long. I didn't really pull out a ton of quotes to read, but what is perhaps more alarming is that the new entrants from the ad tech industry and elsewhere aren't just trying to derail standards that could hurt their businesses. They're proposing new ones that could actually enshrine tracking under the guise of privacy.
Yeah.
So
I like the other quote in there is, while I think it was actually in relation to that comment, and I was skimming through it while you were talking, and one of them was, while most of the people on the committee can see through what they're doing because they're on the smart, deep into this technical side, policymakers won't, because policymakers are dependent on this kind of expertise to tell them yes or no. So, and this was funny. Just an hour before we started, one of my sister-in-law was asking me how, she said, I was talking with my daughter about some product, and 10 minutes later, I got an ad for it on my phone. And I'd never talked about this product before. I'm like, well, welcome to, do you use Facebook on your phone? Do you use anything on your phone that you actually allowed access to your camera or audio, for recording? That's the cat and mouse game. That's so this is a little bit timely.
Yeah.
And always interesting to me anyways. So
yeah. And I mean, I was one of the reasons I was late tonight was I was playing tech support at a family member who had their, they were afraid that they had gotten some of their accounts hacked and had gotten all these emails, and it sounded serious enough. I didn't want to try and debug it remotely, so I just went over there and got them fixed up. But I don't know how anybody, even super technical people, can be expected to go through the blizzard of crap that is around and not actually click on something that is bad at some point. And yeah, it's not. It's not reasonable for everybody to learn. Oh, click on these things. Don't click on these things.
Yeah,
it's just not feasible. So anyway, something to continue working on is what I will say for that.
Yep.
So There you go. All right. Well, hey, Mr. Vacation Boy, how about something fun?
So my something fun, I didn't actually have any, so I scrolled back through the Slack to see if there were any something funs I threw in there that I hadn't used yet.
Good
and
call.
I found one. This one, so go to the link. It's
Okay.
River Runner. And basically it shows you a map of the US, and you can click on any point in the US and it will track a raindrop from wherever you click in the US to the ocean.
Oh, that is totally cool.
Isn't that cool? Or the large body of water, right?
Yeah.
So you can track. It basically will show you what streams it'll travel through, what rivers eventually. Whether it's west of the Rockies,
totally
east of the Rockies. It's a lot of fun. It's just kind of I don't know. Pick a site, click on the link.
Let me see if I can find something that will drain into one of the Great Lakes.
Yeah, and then it runs basically a 3D animation once you've clicked on something, and you basically follow the raindrop from wherever you clicked to the body of water, where it ends up. So
it just goes wherever I clicked goes a very small way to an inland water feature. I guess don't click on the lake area in what state am I in?
No.
North Dakota.
Well, even though I clicked on Chicago, you would think that would drain right out into the Great Lakes there.
Yeah.
It goes all the way down through Louisiana and out to the Gulf of Mexico.
Really? All right,
Yep.
I just clicked on a place in Wisconsin. And, yep, down the Mississippi it goes.
Yeah, isn't that kind of cool?
This is totally cool.
Anyways, so I thought it was pretty cool. It's a guy named Sam Lerner. A person named Sam Lerner, and it's river-runner.samlerner.com. I thought it was a cool visualization. That's
awesome.
my something fun for this week.
Okay, that is totally fun. That is totally cool. Okay, my something fun is super ironically just a Twitter thread. So click on the Twitter thread that I will put in here. So this is
I did read this earlier, actually.
Yeah? Cool.
Yeah, you had tweeted this earlier.
I retweeted it. That's true. Yeah, when I saw it, I was like, I'm putting this in my something fun tonight. And then I was like, and I'll retweet it. So this is a thread about the Appalachian Mountains. And it was totally cool. So a couple of things. There's a bunch of things that I didn't realize in here. One of the first of which, the Appalachians are a mountain range that spans the east coast of the United States. But sort of the first fun fact in here that I had no idea is that the same mountain chain continues all the way through Europe. Well, not through Europe, but into Europe, across the north side of the British Isles and up through... not sure. I think that's through Norway, not Scandinavia. It's got a Scandinavia link there. But anyway, so it continues across because it is... this is the second thing I guess I should have realized, but I didn't. It's super old. They're 480 million years old. So it says, for context, that's about 100 million years before the first animals walked on land. So the vast majority of fossils found in the Appalachian Mountains are from when all life lived in the oceans. So it's totally awesome. They've got, and they have some pictures of coral and trilobites and other sort of sea creatures. And it says the majority of the fossils in this region are so old they come from limestone rocks formed on the bottom of the ocean when life as we know it hadn't yet evolved. Some of the fossils date back as far as the Ordovician period, which is before fish evolved. How cool is that? Examples of some of the oldest known fossils of life on Earth: stromatolites, fossilized mats of bacteria that still exist today. Anyway, it's totally cool. So the point though from the mountains is, they're as low as they are because they've had so long to erode. But the third, I think I'm at the third crazy fact I didn't realize in here, is that it says there were 3 distinct periods of the Appalachians formation. It says the Taconian, Acadian, and Alleghenian. And they each represent the existing mountain range being subjected to additional pressures and forced higher. So basically, as the Pangea is separating and the continents or the tectonic plates are colliding, it basically got smashed 3 times. So let's see. So there's images and examples of how the tectonic plates were crashing into each other. But then there's pictures of how it says, here's the quote, "These multiple mountain forming events and the forces the mountains were under is what created many of the gorgeous rock layering in the Appalachian regions, often visible in road cuts." And there's a picture of, a road cut through a mountain, but then the geology in the mountain is just crazy cool.
Yeah, I'm looking at that picture right now. That is really cool.
Yeah, and then the even cooler is down 2 below. In some regions with the naked eye, you can see the sort of the formation of the earth as taffy. It's kind of one of those, like a fractal thing where, it's the same sort of thing you'd expect to see. Like when in a river or something like that, when you're looking at a delta, you zoom in and, it's very fractal. But so this, you can sort of see these very macro formations on a
right.
multiple kilometer basis. And then, and then here's I think this was my final crazy fact. I had no idea, was that, let's see how best to approach this. It says the mountains were structured with caps of more durable sandstone atop layers of soft limestone underneath. But basically, once the sandstone was breached, the limestone eroded much faster. And so the modern surfaces of the mountains are largely what were the valleys previously. So
right.
there's an image here of the sort of where the mountain, approximately, what the mountaintops would have been at, prior to erosion. And so essentially what are today's mountains are actually the valleys of the previous landscape. And it says, this is reflected back on the landscape in dramatic ways. The mountains are built of sandstone covered in forests. The majority of the limestone valleys, which are full of fertile soils, are good for farming, are occupied with farms and towns. And then there's some satellite photography in here. So, anyway, this was just a great thread. It was
this was a cool thread.
Something I really enjoyed reading, and was like, okay, that's got to be my something fun. So there you go.
Nice.
There you go. That was fun. That was cool. All right.
Well, awesome.
Well, I will say, return safely.
Yeah. I got to go pack, and then it's an early start to my day tomorrow.
Yeah. All right. Well, I look forward to having you back. But I hope you had a great time. I'm happy you had a great time.
Yeah, it's been awesome.
That's cool. All right, man. I will talk to you next week.
Alrighty. See you, John.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.